Hello, my name is Emily Manders, and I am a summer member of the Green Iowa AmeriCorps team here in Iowa City. Today, we're going to do another installment of our Endangered Species series. Today, we're going to be talking about a tree, specifically the American chestnut tree, seen here pictured on the right. So the natural range of the American chestnut tree is pictured here on the screen. It spreads all the way up to Maine, down to a small part in Florida. It can be found along the East Coast and spreads west up into Indiana and Illinois. During this time when they were not endangered, an estimated 4 billion chestnut trees grew in this area. So what makes the chestnut tree so special? This tree has existed for more than 40 million years and is known for being fast growing, long lasting, and large in its size. It can grow up to 100 feet and can live for multiple centuries. It was often used for furniture making because it was being rot resistant and straight grained. Throughout its history, it has been used to make log cabins, flooring, and other furniture. You can see in the pictures here of um, older photos of people standing by the chestnut tree, and you can really see how big it is. The chestnut tree was actually termed the cradle to grave tree because your first crib would be made out of chestnut wood, and throughout your life, you would live off the chestnut's tree nuts, live in homes built with its wood, and then eventually your coffin would also be built with the chestnut wood. Oftentimes, the tree was just referred to as the tree that took care of you from the cradle to the grave. So you could really see how important this tree was to the people who lived in this area. So now we're going to talk about the nut of the tree. Not only is the lumber of the American chestnut tree so useful, but the nut has fed people, farm animals like hogs and cattle, and local wildlife like bears. This nut can be used as a substitute for potatoes and can make flour. Um, what's really interesting is how it can be found in urban areas and rural areas. You can really see how many people it touched. The nut was also used to be a Christmas time treat. The Christmas song, or better known as chestnuts roasting on an open fire, which was first recorded by the Nat King Cole Trio in 1946, pays homage to this popular holiday treat. The chestnut ripens in the fall and winter months, which explains why it's a holiday favorite. The nut exists inside of a burr on the tree, which is shown on the picture to the right. That's what it looks like on the tree. And then it falls to the ground where it can be picked. Chestnuts are not to be cut from the tree because it could hurt the tree, but picked off of the ground. And a chestnut is ready when the burr has split. As you can see in the middle photo, that's what a chestnut looks like when it's ready. And then the photo on the left is during the holiday season, people would just sell chestnuts. So why is the American chestnut tree endangered? Well, a rapidly spreading lethal fungus infestation called Cryptonectaria parasitia is what has caused it to die so fast. The disease is more commonly referred to, though, as the chestnut blight. This fungus is native to East and Southeast Asia and was introduced in Europe and North America in the early 1900s. The American chestnut, compared to other types like the one in Europe, is extremely susceptible to this fungus, which explains why we lost such a population of our chestnut trees compared to Europe or in Asia, where they are resistant to the fungus. And then the photo on the left shows the cankers that appear on a tree when it's affected, and so does the photo on the right. So what made this fungus so deadly? Well, the fungus is easily spreadable and enters through the wounds of chestnut trees. After it was first discovered in 1904, the chestnut tree was functionally wiped out by the 1950s, meaning that almost 4 billion trees were killed in a span of less than 50 years, which really highlights how fast moving it was. It was first introduced to the US when Japanese and Chinese chestnut trees were imported into the United States to be planted at the Bronx Zoo in New York City. Um, these trees were infested with this fungus, and as the fungus can spread through air, that's how it was spreading so fast. So how does it kill the chestnut tree? The fungus forms a canker and quickly girdles the tree. It destroys the inner bark layer and then cuts off the tree's water supply and nutrients. So the part of the tree above the girdled area dies, but the tree continues to sprout from roots and stumps, with some shoots growing large enough to flower and fruit before the fungus attacks it. So these trees were still living, it just was attacked before it was sexually mature, so it could not repopulate. Oftentimes, chestnut trees that are found today are sprouts off of the root system of a much larger chestnut tree that used to exist in that place. The reason these chestnut trees do not go fully extinct is because the blight fungus cannot live in the soil, and because the tree has a tremendous capability to produce shoots from stumps and roots. And in these photos, you can see the range of where this fungus spread. Obviously, you can see in 1904 in New York, and then it just spread all the way around. And you can see in this other photo as well. So what is the fate of the American chestnut tree? Well, there is hope that the tree will continue to exist. Scientists have backcrossed the American chestnut tree with the Asian chestnut, which is blight resistant, in hopes of creating an almost completely American tree with blight resistance. This did not work as well because the trees were just not growing as much and they looked more like the Asian chestnut tree. Other scientists have created a blight-resistant hybrid tree through genetic engineering by finding the gene that causes a tree to be resistant to the disease. This second method has become more successful and exemplifies what GMOs can do. Since then, many chestnut trees have been planted with this gene inserted in them, and there is hope that the American chestnut tree can repopulate and no longer be endangered in the future. There's a lot of organizations dedicated to the repopulation of this tree, but one that is largely been credited with its restoration is the American Chestnut Foundation. And in this photo on the right, you can really see the difference between the American and the Chinese chestnut tree, which explains why it was so obvious when they were back crossed that it was not the American chestnut tree. So that's about it on the American chestnut tree. I have linked some important websites and videos down below if you're interested in learning more about the American chestnut. The American Chestnut Foundation also holds a chestnut chat series that highlights the work that they are doing to bring back the chestnut population. It also has resources of where you can volunteer and just way more information about the American chestnut tree. Thanks for watching, and make sure to go check out our other endangered species videos. Yeah, thanks.